All right, folks, this is just me spitballing. I was talking about the viral meme, which anybody can look up. It's not something that I came up with. It's something that Howard Bloom came up with in the Lucifer Principle back in 1995. And I took to it, and it's been effective. And as social media has grown, the technique has grown along with it. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that are higher up, that, as we call the powers that be, that don't like the technique being used because it is an effective technique in this internet environment that we're in. Easier for it to spread. But a viral meme is something that people will pick up and carry with them. And he spent like a whole, I think I actually did for the women's channel, I actually did a whole video on it, actually reading it and going through it and talking about it. Because I thought women like esoteric stuff, I thought they would take to it and they would like something like that. But I have to remember that I have had Gnostic training, so the way I read stuff and the way I take stuff and the way I apply stuff is probably different than people that haven't had the training. It's like teaching a running hook or a reverse layup to somebody that doesn't know how to dribble yet. Okay, it's a waste of time, or trying to explain a sham god to a 6-year-old. Okay, it's not gonna be effective because there's not enough basic knowledge. So I have to understand that. But I just want to give an example of a viral meme and how it spreads. Okay, it's a piece of information that people will attach to and take with them and make it their own and spread it as the truth. The best viral memes are true. I'm gonna say that the best viral memes are true. The fastest ones that spread are probably ones that are not true, that are salacious. We see that all the time with gossip. That's how gossip spreads so fast, right? Something negative, that's something that's salacious, it spreads extremely rapidly. But the thing is, it doesn't have the same effect because it's not true. There's no truth behind it. So it doesn't have the same effect. But that's how viral memes actually spread as far as ideas. They spread the same way, but probably not as fast. But I just want to give an example of how it can actually be effective, because somebody asked me, how come I don't complain about ideas that have been borrowed or taken, or insights that have been borrowed and taken from me, and I don't get credit for it, and why it doesn't bother me. When I said it's because I want the information to get out, I want the information to spread, and it spreads faster if people actually own it without having to give me credit or having give me or pay me any kind of due for it. I just want to use an example going back to the 1980s, right? Okay. Microsoft was a fledgling company in 1979. Basically, when they started, they were basically selling a certain, I can't even remember what they were selling. I think they were selling software to do, I think it's like Word or something like that, a version of Word. I think that's what they were selling. And it wasn't going anywhere. So what they did was they licensed DOS, PC DOS, okay, from a guy, right, from a computer scientist. I think it's in Silicon Valley. I think where they licensed it from. But anyhow, they licensed it from him, right, and they packaged it and they sold it to Microsoft, because not IBM, because IBM DOS, this operating system was used to run on their business PCs, okay, that they got from overseas. They used to make them overseas because the big mainframes, they were too expensive. Like the big mainframes cost millions of dollars, and people need a personal computer, so they need a operating system to run on their personal computers. So Microsoft found a operating system that was effective and reasonably lightweight and cheap to make, cheap to maintain, to actually run a business computer. So that's what they did, right? So now all the IBM PCs, personal computers, ran on this, what we call MS-DOS, or IBM DOS, as they called it. What happened is that since it wasn't really very well copy protected, anybody could make a copy of what would he call MS-DOS, and they cloned it and called it PC-DOS. And so your Taiwanese clone makers that were making the machines anyway would sell unbranded machines, but they needed an operating system. So what they did was, they didn't license it, but what they do is give you a free operating system with their clones. And the free operating system was a stolen or pirated version of MS-DOS or IBM DOS. And Microsoft never went after these people. They started to, and then they let it go. And the reason they let it go is because 9 out of every 10 IBM type PCs were clone versions of the official IBM PC at what, 1/10 of the price. One of those business machines will cost you 10 grand, and you could buy a Taiwanese clone, quote unquote, for 1,000 or less. But what IBM's thing is that you had to license the IBM DOS to run it. But if you had a pirated copy of what we call PC DOS for free, basically you didn't have to spend the 10 grand to actually license a business computer. You could have almost the same computer for 1/10 of the price with PC DOS, because Microsoft did not try to enforce the copyright of what they call MS-DOS. So what happened? Instead of getting Apple, instead of getting a myriad of other machines that had their operating systems tied to the machine, IBM clones actually took over the whole market. 90% of the machines sold all over the world were IBM clones, or Taiwanese PC clones, PC DOS. And as this virus started to spread and started to take over the market, guess what Microsoft actually did? They started selling other products. Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, to actually go along with your clone. They started making money that way. And as the businesses started to adopt this paradigm, because there were just so many of them, okay? When you're running a business, you can't run with pirated copies. You had to buy licensed copies. So Microsoft went from this little shoehorn business to this big global conglomerate within 10 years. Why? Because they didn't enforce the copyright of this little package they sold to IBM called PC DOS. So all the schools, all the institutions that started off using these clone copies, these clone PCs, because they were cheap, and the PC DOS because it was inexpensive, and that's what all your students learned on, it became a standard. And once it became a standard, they never looked back. So Microsoft went from less than $1 million to over $100 billion. And it still dominates the PC world today. As much as people like Apple, and they love Apple, their operating system was tied to the machine. There was no such thing as an Apple clone. And the Apple clones did not run Apple software. Even today, Apple has the most locked down operating system probably in the world, which is why even though they make tons of money, shout out to them, probably because their iPhone and their iPads, as far as the PC is concerned, they still are only a little bit over 10%. They've never moved. The IBM PC and Microsoft still dominate the world as far as PCs are concerned, even mainframe hardware. That's what I mean by viral meme. That's what I mean by allowing your ideas and your talking points and your insights to be quote unquote stolen by other people. Because if they steal them and they're good ideas and they take it as their own, they're going to make those ideas standard or standardized. And instead of those ideas being harnessed and stayed into a small pocket, they're allowed to grow and they're allowed to spread and allowed to be taken, because people, instead of people believing that it came from somebody, they believe that it's their own. And people fight a lot harder for ideas that they have taken as their own than something they have gotten from you. Which is why Kevin Samuels, High Value Man, right? Even though he initially didn't come up with the concept, High Value Man is no longer attached to Kevin Samuels anymore. It's just being used. It's being used not only in the manosphere, but also colleges, businesses, dating sites all over the world. You got people in Korea talk about high value men and the stuff that comes with it, or sign language and stuff that comes with it. They've forgotten where it's tied to, even where it came from. The thing is, the idea of it and the spread of it and the impact of it is now global. It's now starting to be standardized. It's starting to go into the global lexicon. And once it becomes standardized and becomes part of the average lexicon, that is the ultimate soft power. That is the power of persuasion. Because with these ideas, with these insights, there are other things that are attached to it that ride along with it. And if we're smart, we can leverage it. Much the way Microsoft did. They didn't enforce the copyright of the operating system. What they did is, okay, since everybody has it and 90% of the machines run it, guess what we're going to do? We're going to sell Microsoft Word and make it a standard. We're going to sell Excel. All the other worksheets worksheet programs that came out. Okay, I remember there's about 5 or 6 of them. Who even remembers them now? And Excel wasn't the best one at the time, but it wasn't even close to being the best one. It has become one of the best ones. But Microsoft Word and Excel are standardized. Microsoft SQL, structured query language, it's standardized all over the world in mainframes. Word is even used on Apple computers because it was standardized. They didn't make money off the operating system. In fact, they do now, because every time they sell a PC machine, it's got Microsoft Windows on it. They make more off the selling it to the manufacturers as far as a machine than they do worrying about your copyright of an illegal Windows program. In fact, you can buy Windows, not pirated, but on the gray market. The thing is, it enforces the standardization of thought of operating systems where Microsoft will always make money. But that's why you let viral memes go. That's why you allow people to, quote unquote, borrow your stuff, sometimes without attribution. Because your banner of thought and your ideas and your worldview rise along with it. And once you start changing people's worldview, then you can if you wanted to make money, you can sell them other things. That's like the Matrix. Warner Brothers has never went after people using, quote unquote, the red pill. They never have. Why? Because the movie The Matrix, the Matrix series, will never die. They will always make money. And us using the red pill and the blue pill as memes means that it'll be a classic and a standard probably forever. In fact, I'm getting ready to show a 20-year-old movie today to go back to the basics. The red pill and blue pill and the Matrix have almost become a religion. Power of ideas, power of memes, power of standardization, the power of a viral meme that spreads. After a virus spreads for so long, for so many years, it becomes part of your DNA and everybody has it. Anyhow, just a thought, just a ramble, something that came to mind. I got another one coming because there's another idea. I want to get it out while it's fresh. But with that, I'm going to jump off here. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.